Him, directed by Justin Tipping, produced by Jordan Peele, starring Tyriq Withers and Marlon Wayans and Julia Fox. Also supported by Tim Heidecker and Jim Jeffries. What can I say? I'm actually surprised at the response to this movie. I was going into it, unfortunately, thinking that it was going to be bad because of all of the responses online, because of certain people's reactions. The IMDb is a 5.4. I think that the Rotten Tomatoes is 31. Let's talk about this. I think first and foremost, this movie is for athletes, and I would almost dare to say by athletes. I'm not sure who the writers are. It seems to be Skip Bronke, Zach Akers, and also Tipping as well, without knowing anybody's history. It would seem like this is very athlete adjacent. I did athletics through high school and through college, not football specifically in college. I did play football in high school, so very well versed in that realm, watching it, knowing about it, people here and there, knowing people who got signed and went on to do bigger things between college and in the league. It seems very apparent that there's an inside take on this, very much so. And even without it being athletics, it could have been applied to almost any industry, right? Anything where there's sort of an exploitive entertainment, higher sort of exposure type of industry. Take music, take film, take what have you. Sports seem to be a good conduit for this. The themes of the film, I think, and the movie are very apparent. I'm not quite sure if the backlash is that it's so on the nose that it's particularly that they're viewing that as something of a detriment. It's very both sometimes in dialogue as well as just visually. And I think where you can get in trouble is that if the entire movie is a visual motif for a specific theme or a specific sort of conversation you're trying to have, I think you kind of need to make a decision as far as like which one are we going to over-index on, while like tastefully, and not necessarily have, when it's matters of like production and production design, let's not overstay our welcome as far as what's going to be on the walls and what's going to be on the, decor-wise and the messages we're trying to tell. I mean, it's very much spoon-feedy, can't get this wrong about what's happening here. But, in a way that, listen, I guess the last thing that you would want to do is for it not to work. I think if you would trust the audience a little bit more, I could see where... maybe not having everything so spelled out, there could be it doesn't blip people away. With that being said, I don't think it's a detriment to the film. I mean, I still enjoyed myself. I'm not particularly someone who, indulges or really entertains the horror genre. I like suspenses and I like thrillers for those effects, but when it starts to get into, horror territory, I try and stay away from that. I think the weakest part of this film was when it tries to or wants to really be a horror film or have horror elements in them. I think they're overdone at the sake of taking out or blipping you out of the experience you're having just for the sake of having jump scares, which end up being cheap with no payoffs. And having the sensational blare of the jump and the screech, that's unnecessary, and I find those to be the worst type of experiences I have with movies. And when those jump scares don't particularly work in favor of what you're trying to do, that's often where I get a bit of like, okay, we didn't need that, and neither did my eardrum. But as far as performances go, everyone commits. I think this is a great performance by Tyriq Withers. He's in 2 horror films this year. He did I Know What You Did Last Summer as well as this one. I guess he survives in this. I didn't see I Know What You Did Last Summer, but I saw him crawling on I think he dies in Bill Camp's arms. Or Billy, what is his name? Billy Campbell. Bill Campbell. No, I like that. Marlon commits. I mean, I think the movie itself is really, again, this is why I think, and perhaps the disclaimer of needing a sports background might be at its detriment, but coaches, there is this sort of I won't say schizophrenia or personality just type of thing. I mean, there is, because the type of person you have to be to really commit and sacrifice yourself for whatever you're trying to do. Number one pop artist, I don't know, title billing as an actor, being the number one draft pick and being, the GOAT. I mean, being a multi-time champion of a sports team. There's a commitment necessary to do that. It takes a certain person, a certain mind, a personality, and a certain commitment, unyielding, in order to achieve those type of things. So, but I say that to say, for Marlon's character, coaches will overdo. The whole point is, once the point gets across, we can get back to normal. But if you're failing, or if you're suffering, or if we're at a loss here, a coach is going to be, show me, are you with me? And they'll be like, yeah. And then when they're done, they go, okay, now let's go. Like, that's how that goes. That's how that world operates. You have to be like, get hyped, like, let's move. That's why you have all those locker room, like, I don't know, let's go. Like, and then you build tension, you build, you get hyped, you get your body up, and then let go. And it's the same thing here. It's like, let's get the point across. Are you with me? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to sacrifice? Everything. And just as from a performance sake, okay, I've yelled enough. Now let's bring it back down, because the point's been made, and you say, now show me. So I think there are just elements where it gets everything right that it's needing to do. I think it's just sometimes certain elements just overstay their welcome. Like I said, production design, sometimes, you really are fist feeding the symbolicism here, the paganism, the rituals, and having pentagram, the star. And so, I mean, it's okay, we got it. Altar, sacrifice, deity, demon, like all that kind of stuff. Choose your God in the altar. But I won't fault that. I think if it didn't do that, I think it would have more questions from people who are unaware, versus the fact that people, you're walking away with essentially no questions, because it's all there. But yeah, I find that, everything from trophy wife to this to that. I mean, it's all laid out for you. So if you're just looking for, I guess, a different way to explore what goes behind, essentially following this character, trying to do what you want to do, and the promise for the kingdom is often paved with blood and sacrifice, and it's not always what it's cracked up to be. And I think the film gets that, and it does that in a way. Ultimately, it works for me just because I know what it was doing, and to me, the ending is satisfying. I think in the scope of like the world and universe of Jordan Peele, it's very like deliberate. I think this film just essentially delivers on what it's trying to do and show and be, and it's really not leaving any room for interpretation, which is fine. I think sometimes, having a vision and a narrative and a director who can land the plane is beneficial. So if that doesn't work for you, I guess I can see why, but it's just a joyride. It's really just like, honestly, I think they were having fun with it. It makes sense. I think, it's not about recommending it or not. I think if you're interested in seeing, I say see it. I will say I think it's getting a little unnecessary flack as far as all the negative marks and the reviews and the scoring. I'm curious why. I think it's. I wonder if it needed to be a horror film for this to work. Like, I don't know the process of this film, obviously. Maybe it was like flailing and they needed to add some kind of element to get it to it. And once that happened, maybe Jordan Peele signed on. So then it kind of took this sort of route. But I don't think it's a negative, route. I mean, I think if you're going to, add horror elements to this, or, suspense and thriller and psychological situations. So I think it does that. I think sometimes... I think the jump scares are really the areas that are misplaced, where you're trying to where you're trying to have these sort of visions and stuff for no reason. Other than that, I think it works. I think it works, and I don't think it's a bad film or a bad movie. The people who were saying it doesn't, I'm curious as to know why. I think it's just. If it's a snobbery thing, saying like it's just so deliberate and over the top and very on the nose, I think this movie is actually very aware of what it's doing. And for whatever reason, people aren't liking that. I think it is so on the nose and so unapologetically visceral and deliberate that maybe people were expecting for it not to be. But I think if a film is actually doing that on purpose, kudos to you, because it delivers, and it does, and it's beautiful to look at. I mean, I remember from when I reviewed the trailer, I was like, this is like, what is this, like a campaign ad? It looked more like a Nike training campaign ad than a movie. But yeah, I think it works for me. I enjoyed myself. It was very almost overly visceral to me. I mean, the gore was, for what it was doing, was very, like, I mean, it doesn't pull any punches, and I think that's what ultimately makes it most effective. Everything's dialed up, so just be prepared for just a very dialed up experience, sensory wise, thematically, metaphorically, if you can even call that, because it's really spelled out for you. But yeah, I think it's a good time. It's a thrill, and it's just exploring a concept behind what we always know to be true about the exploitive industrial, like, athletic and entertainment complex as it pertains specifically to, in this case, African Americans or black players, but really just in life. I mean, it's just it you could apply it to anything, and it still works. So that's my review. Take it for what it is. I enjoyed it. I think if you know what you're good, you're just signing up for a joyride. So don't take it too seriously. I don't think it does, and actually, for doing so, yeah, I think it delivers entirely for it. Like and subscribe for more reviews and reactions to movies and trailers like this. And until next time, keep watching.